Looking for a weight loss solution that actually works? Weight Loss by Hers provides access to GLP-1 medications with personalized care to help you hit your goals. Hers is transforming women's healthcare by providing access to affordable weight loss treatment plans delivered straight to your door if prescribed. Hers offers a holistic weight loss program with personalized solutions, including compounded GLP-1 weekly injections featuring the same active ingredient as Ozempic and Wegovy or oral medication kits. So if you've been struggling with your weight loss journey, it's time to find the best option that works for you through Hers. Start your initial free online visit today at forhers.com/KKC. That's FORHERS.com/KKC for your personalized weight loss treatment options. forhers.com/KKC. Hers weight loss is not available everywhere. Compounded products are not FDA approved or verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. Restrictions apply. Wegovy and Ozempic are not compounded. Actual price depends on product and plan purchased.
Thank you to our partner, Mentos Gum. You ever feel like you're just going through the same motions day after day? We've all been there. Staring at brake lights, in traffic, or stuck in a long meeting. Not anymore with Mentos Gum. Listen up. This isn't just your regular gum. We're talking about a whole vibe refresh. Think of it as your personal reset button. One piece, and suddenly that traffic jam becomes your private concert venue. That meeting that should have been an email, it turns into a full-on fiesta. From flavors like fresh mint to bold strawberry, Mentos Gum transforms ordinary moments into fresh possibilities. Whether you want to switch up your route home or keep your mind fresh in a meeting, refresh the everyday with Mentos Gum. Yes to fresh with Mentos Gum.
Welcome back for another episode of Reality Life with KKC. Now, if you've been a long-time listener, you know I've always been fascinated by cults. And in the process of this show, I've interviewed so many people that have been members of cults or who have executive produced or directed documentaries or series about cults. Today's episode is about a new Hulu series. It is called How I Escaped My Cult. A cult is considered a religious or quasi-religious group. It's characterized by unusual or atypical beliefs, seclusion from the outside world, and authoritarian structure. In most cases, they are secretive and hostile to non-members. They're typically led by a charismatic individual. They're persuasive with a magnetic personality, dynamic and convincing, and may be seen as a genius or a religious figure. And of course, they have absolute power and they don't allow criticism. They use coercive control, a pattern of behavior used to dominate, intimidate, and manipulate someone. And the members follow their rules and guidelines with total worship. As part of their dedication to the leader and their community, they live together, likely in remote places. And the recruiting process takes place with an innocent gesture, maybe via a social group, an event, or even social media. They prey on the vulnerable, those that are already disconnected from friends and family because of underlying family issues, maybe insecurity, mental health issues, or seeking spirituality. Cult members may believe that the cult is superior to the outside world. They may believe in an impending apocalypse or cataclysm. They may have irrational fears of the outside world and believe in conspiracies or persecution. The tactics include love bombing, showing total validation and support, which makes the potential member feel seen. They may hand over all of their belongings or finances. Once the new members begin this indoctrination process, they are led to believe that the rest of the world is in conflict with their spiritual exploration, which provides opportunity for their identities to be reshaped. Leaving the cult is made more difficult if the cult member has a lack of finances or an education. Blackmail is often used to keep members under control. Punishment, sleep deprivation, starvation, and forcing members to marry others is an additional form of control. Leaving a cult requires building a network outside of the group to help you reconnect with those that you've been disconnected, ensuring safety, securing documents, including identification, and the professional help from a therapist who specializes in cult recovery. How I Escaped My Cult is a riveting true crime series that takes viewers into insidious modern-day cults through the unique lens of members who've endured unspeakable trauma and the shocking investigations into these oppressive groups. with detailed firsthand accounts from former members, their loved ones, and the investigators who helped bring these tormentors to justice. Each episode follows the unique and harrowing journey of a survivor from their earliest cult experiences and revelations all the way up to their heart-pounding escapes. For example, in one episode, they cover Robert Allen Hale, also known as Bobby Hale, or Papa Pilgrim and Sunstar. He was an American criminal who was mentally, physically, and sexually abusive to his wife and 15 children in the Alaskan wilderness, while 3 of his children were said to have gone missing. His oldest was Elishaba, the oldest of the 15 kids to Papa Pilgrim and his wife, Country Rose. They were hippies that turned into fundamentalist Christians. They had, again, moved into the Alaskan wilderness to raise their family according to what they saw as biblical tenets. As the oldest daughter of the cult, Elishaba was the primary target of Papa Pilgrim's rage and lust. His torment escalated when the entire group moved to Alaska, where they had to survive a bold escape through the frigid wilderness. They would wear clothing from about 100 years ago, and they had a family band. Now, he wanted to have 21 children, and he wanted his oldest daughter to have several of them. Ultimately, this led to a standoff with the federal government that came to a head after he carved a 14-mile road out of a national park land without permission. So that episode is, I believe, episode 2 of the series. There's also Word of Life Church, which is in October of 2015, the Word of Life Christian Church, a small reclusive religious sect in Chadwicks, New York, became headline news when police arrested 9 congregants for their roles in the hours-long beatings of 2 teenage brothers, killing one of them. Now, there are several other episodes. Some you may be familiar with, some you may not be. For example, Yearning for Zion, the FLDS, La Luz del Mundo, Angel's Landing, Tony Alamo Christian Academy, and of course, the Vow, NXIVM. So in this episode, I interviewed the executive producers, David Karabinas and Brad Bernstein. And you should make sure that after you listen to the episode, jump into the Facebook group, Reality Life with KKC. I want to hear what you think about this series, but also if you've had an experience with a cult, maybe yourself or maybe somebody that you know. So again, that Facebook group is Reality Life with KKC. And of course, make sure that you are subscribed to this podcast. Here's my interview. David and Brad, back together again.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, Kate.
How are you guys? I am pumped about this series. I'm obsessed with cults. Some of them I was surprisingly not familiar with. I could not believe it. So my first question is, how did this project come to you?
So it's interesting. We did a show for Hulu. It was called How I Caught My Killer. Mm-hmm. And the show did really well. And of course, there was conversations about, well, we should do another spinoff around How I Caught My Killer. Like, what other How I's could we come up with? And actually, our exec at Hulu, Dane Joseph, was the one that called and was like, what about cults? And we're like, ooh, because we're in our, it's interesting. Most everything we do these days, it seems like involves someone being murdered, and it's like a murder show. You're always circling around cults as well, because they're juicy, they're interesting, like everything that plays into it. And you see so many of these deep dive limited series done on these cults, the 2, 3, 4, 5 episode shows. But no one was really doing a 1 hour show, the same way we do true crime things. And that sort of just, maybe I don't want to watch the 3 hour version of this, but I want to know about this cult so I can talk about it with my friends and know everything. So here's like the 1 hour version of it. And it just didn't exist. So it felt like a real natural thing to dive into.
And just to follow up on that real quick, one of the kind of mandates from Hulu was to take the DNA of How I Caught My Killer, what made it successful, and that kind of procedural true crime kind of story, and kind of meld that with these cult stories. So it has a little bit of like first person narrative combined with that true crime element that so many people watch true crime for.
Yeah.
So.
Did it start with one cult in particular? Like, did they say to you, well, we have got this one and we can build out from there? Or did they already have several in mind?
No, it was really on us to find the cults.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
Brad's point, what was kind of the trickier part of it was we wanted that investigative beat. We wanted that kind of play along of, something having happened, a crime basically occurring. Because there can be a cult. I mean, most of the time there's not, but there can be a cult where like there's not necessarily a crime, right?
And just having a cult isn't a crime.
Yeah, it's not a crime, right? So what we had to do was find not only these cult scenarios and these people who'd escaped from them, but also where like a real definitive crime had been committed. Again, you'd think that'd be easy. It's a little harder than we thought it would be.
And what's interesting is, and when you watch the stories in the series, it's like talking to the investigators and the prosecutors who explored these particular crimes. Like they really had to untangle this web of like, okay, we know there's something going on here. We know that a crime has been committed, but how do we get these people to kind of talk about it? Because when they're in it, right, without an escape, that's what makes it so hard for them to pin it on someone and to kind of expose it and to bring justice. So it has all those elements in it, which make for kind of interesting story threads.
Behind every BP fill-up, thousands of people across America go to work every day. People producing energy offshore. People turning it into products at our refineries. People doing R&D to make products that are better for your engine. People trading and shipping fuels to their destinations. And the people who help you at one of BP's growing family of retail stations. They're part of the more than 300,000 jobs BP supports across the country. Learn more at bp.com/investing in America.
Looking for the ultimate night out? Experience the action from a luxury suite at Capital One Arena. Watch Ovechkin chase history as the Capitals hit the ice, or catch the Wizards take on the NBA's best. Rock out with Disturbed, vibe with Mary J. Blige, or dance the night away with Kylie Minogue. Premium seating, VIP service, and unforgettable moments all under one roof. Book your suite now at CapitalOneArena.com/premier. Capital One Arena. Watch in style, live in the moment.
Well, I find too that somebody could have left a cult 15 years ago and they're still unraveling it. They're still second guessing themselves. It's almost like being in an abusive relationship. But I thought it was love. Like I thought they really cared about me. So how was it for you finding people that would come forward? And then the second part of that is when you start interviewing them, did it surprise you still how tethered they were to that cult that they had left?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, we have an incredible team of researchers that we kind of hire from show to show. And this team was just like that. And one of the kind of overarching things that you see, right, with all cults is the control. And so to your point about being kind of surviving one, say 15 years later, and still having that kind of PTSD and having that experience, it never quite goes away.
Yeah.
It never goes away. And so really like the sensitivities on this particular project, kind of above any other project we've probably ever done, were heightened. And it was really important to have people talk to these cult members, former cult members, who could understand their language and speak to them in a way that wasn't re-traumatizing them. That's a really important part of this. And we had the right team to do it.
Yeah, we had people who'd had experience themselves in cults, which we felt like was really, really important. Because, yeah, the last thing we would want to do is set somebody back who maybe has had a really journey to get to a place where they could even talk about it. And you hear that throughout the series, people saying the way they get over it is by talking about it. Sarah McGrath says, Angel's Landing, she's like, this is how I get through it. I get through it by telling this story.
Yeah.
I became friends with Mike Rinder from who had left the Church of Scientology. And I remember him telling me that the more that he and Leah talked about Scientology, the less of a stranglehold they had on them. There's like freedom that comes with telling your story. But some of these cults, they seem to have more power in present day than others. Like the Word of Life may not have as much power right now as La Luz del Mundo, which I found a couple of years ago. There was a documentary that came out about it, and I couldn't get anybody to talk to me at all. And my impression was their fear is very much still present. And by the way, I've driven past that church in Santa Ana, and it takes everything in me not to pull over and just like wave somebody down and see if they'll talk to me. What is your experience in making this? Did it seem like some of these cults had more present power, emotional psychological power over congregants than some others?
Well, it raises this interesting question because certainly, right? Think about like we have an episode, Papa Pilgrim, which is
diabolical. That guy. Whoa.
Yeah, but that's just a family, right? So when you say like, what is a cult and how can they have that power when it's your family, when it's your father who runs this cult, right? And the cult is only your mom and your siblings. It's like, well, okay, why is that a cult and not just your family? What makes it a cult as opposed to just like a very screwed up family? And I think that's where you see sometimes it's easier. I think it's a little easier when they're not. I mean, again, this is very general because there's so many different cases, but it's like, I think that's where I felt like you often saw more of it was harder for people to disassociate themselves from it when it was like a family member or something like that, that violation where it happens.
And I started to cut. I think, Kate, it's important to like the kind of stranglehold that cult leaders have on their followers. It's like it started as something that's so inspiring for people.
Right. That's what's scary.
Exactly. And you believe in it so much. And then the control, like over time, just takes hold. And so it's, to your point, it's really hard to kind of untangle that. It's why the survivors that we found are so extraordinary, and listening to them tell their stories not only empowers them, but empowers the listener too. It's like, wow, this is like inspiring. And you see at the end, we spend some time with them typically in an environment. They either go back to where the cult was, or they go to a place where they found freedom. I think of Papa Pilgrim. Alicia goes back to this just beautiful place where she found kind of her strength. And it's so inspiring to watch, but it takes their strength to kind of get through it. And we feel that in the series.
It's hard to understand how people can get under this control. And the more you watch it, the more you see it, it's easier to find some empathy for them. Like I know even with Papa Pilgrim, when I watched it and heard the story, and you start realizing like with the brothers, that was always really tricky to me because it was like, these are grown men. They could stop their father. Like they could physically stop their father. There's just no question, but they didn't, like that hold from their whole lives being under that level of control and abuse. I think for most of it, it's almost impossible to imagine or understand. And to Brad's point, seeing the strength of these people to get through it and to break from it. I mean, again, 20-something years old when she does that.
Yeah. And what's incredible is like seeing all of them talk, like each of our survivors, everyone is so intelligent and so kind of like, right, they're so smart. And so you realize like this can happen to anyone.
Anybody.
Alicia Bay was in her family, so she kind of had no choice. But like everyone else in the series willingly went into generally, and they did so hoping for something better. It was looking for kind of strength to help them on their journey. So it's like these are all really smart people who got swayed by this control, and it's hard to get out of that grip.
And it does, and the ones that aren't family, like to Brad's point, they do start out okay. Tony Alamo, right? Like It starts off, they're like kind of a ministry. They're going around, like it seems, it's hard to say. I mean, but before his wife dies, it kind of seems like it's just like a pretty straightforward, a little culty, but an evangelical church, right?
Mm-hmm.
They do tend to focus on people that were sort of a little more downtrodden and all that. But again, that's not that unusual. But then there's always this turn. There's always this moment, it seems like, where the cult leader ultimately decides that he has to have sex with everybody.
As you write your life story, you're far from finished. Are you looking to close the book on your job? Maybe turn a page in your career? Be continued at the Georgetown University School of Continuing Studies. Our professional master's degrees and certificates are designed to meet you where you are and take you where you want to go. At Georgetown SCS, the learning never stops, and neither do you. Write your next chapter. Be continued at scs.georgetown.edu/podcast.
This is a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup sound experiment. We're looking to find the perfect way to hear Reese's so you'll buy more of them. Here we go. Reese's, 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 Reese's. Hey, get out of here, you little stinker.
Reese's.
Reese's.
Reese's. Peanut butter cups. That breathy one sounded very creepy, am I right?
By the way, that's what Sarah Edmondson told me from The Vow, from NXIVM, and I can't unthink it now. She said it always ends up being about a sex cult.
Yeah.
Always.
Like, there's always this moment where the leader of the cult comes around and it's like, well, I
hate to break it to you guys.
Break it. You believe it, but I guess I have to have sex with everybody.
Yeah, it's come down to this.
I got to do it. And
here we are.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Yeah.
Also, they're so good at really manipulating people and knowing what their pain points are. So to your point about like Papa Pilgrim and his sons, he knows those children so well and what their pain points are. So they can be put right back into the mindset of a 5-year-old just like that, which is scary. And to your point about anybody can really be impacted by this because everybody can think about a moment in time where they were in a point of vulnerability. You've lost a job, you had a bad breakup, whatever it may be. If somebody with the wrong intentions hits you at the wrong time, you could be susceptible to it. And the thing that makes me so angry about it is that most people that I find leave a cult carries a sense of shame when it's the leader who should carry the shame and not the person that was, their emotions were twisted. So I love that each of these episodes really gives the power back to the victim. And in the process, I think it's really arming us all with more power that we're paying attention to not only our own lives, but other people. Like, don't you think because of this project, you have such a better mindset? So if someone comes to you like, I just joined this organization, you're like, well, tell me more.
Start asking questions you wouldn't otherwise have asked. It's true.
Right.
Yeah. That's sort of the rub with doing these kind of programs in general, whether it's cults or even true crime or any of these things. Yeah. You're so aware of, honestly, just like the bad nature of people and the like what they're willing to do. I mean, my daughter goes to school about 1,000 miles away from us. And when she drives home, I'm in a panic. I'm like, you cannot stop at a rest stop or at a truck stop. Here is where you, and she's like, what are you worried about? It's like, because we've done shows. These interstate highway system, it is like a murder highway.
Totally.
If you're a serial killer, you are a trucker.
Mm-hmm.
This is how it works. And people are like, you're crazy. It's like, all we do is these shows that just show awful people doing
what
awful.
Also it is, we watch too many episodes of Unsolved Mysteries.
That's right.
That's right. I can't go to a motel. I will never go to a motel because of Unsolved Mysteries. I feel it. Yeah.
And look, back to the cults, it's all just, to what you were saying, Kate, like we've all had those moments. Like you've been in a relationship with someone that maybe wasn't even a bad relationship, but you just couldn't get out of it. You're like, I don't want to break up, but they'll be sad or what, I don't know. So it's just a matter of degree, right? And sort of where you are and how much you're willing to put up with.
But, we talk about, Kate, like, a sexual component to these things, but then there's other stories. You mentioned one before, like Word of Life. Yeah. With Tiffany Irwin, it's not a sexual thing. It's
capital punishment.
Exactly. It's control, capital punishment, financial, right? That's a big thing with all of these cults.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, Angel's Landing, like Lou had the way his like plan was, I mean, that's the other thing. Like some of these people, like if they would take their powers and use them for good, he had this sort of plan where it's like he gets people to get these life insurance policies or he puts them out and he knows he puts them against another member of the cult, not himself. He had this thing figured out. It was elaborate. It was well thought out. It's like, why not just do something legitimate with that sort of financial acumen?
I know. They're always so brilliant, but there's always like a couple screws loose. So if they worked for a company, they get fired like 2 months into it because the head of HR would be like, let's get rid of this weirdo. But if you're around people that are already in a vulnerable position, they master how to take control over people that just are well-meaning individuals, which is the saddest part.
It's true.
There are good people that go and listen to someone talk because they are on some sort of exploration, spiritual or emotional. And the loser, that is the charismatic leader who could never make it in corporate America, takes over.
That's right.
Wow. Well, Lord knows I love this topic. Tell everybody where they can watch this series, where they can find out more about your company, and what else are you guys working on right now?
Sure. So the show airs on Freeform on Thursdays at 10 p.m. Eastern time, or you can stream new episodes every week, or you can stream the whole series right now on Hulu.
If you're one of those people that like to wait weekly and kind of build up, then go to Freeform.
Yeah, or you don't have a Hulu subscription, which is, you can also do Freeform. My mother, she watches it.
There you go.
And where can they find out about Texas Crew, and what else are you guys working on?
Find out about Texas Crew, I guess, our website. That's probably it. Listen to podcasts like this one where we talk. Our website, texascrew.com. But other stuff we're working on. We have a few projects in the works where we have our other show on Hulu. It's still streaming, How I Caught My Killer.
We have a great embed series on Paramount Plus. It's in season 2 called Chopper Cops, and we're embedded with a sheriff's department in Central Florida. It's really interesting.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful series.
Yeah, it's cops, but with helicopters.
Oh, cool.
The helicopter adds this whole other element of drama to it that I don't think I certainly didn't fully appreciate when it was like being developed, because we bounce between what's going on the ground and what's going on in the air. And what's interesting is in the air, they're able to see things that people on the ground can't see, but they can't really do anything about it. They can alert them, but there's this feeling of there's a great scene in one of our episodes where they can see that the police are chasing this guy through the woods, and they don't realize that just, 20 yards ahead, this guy is now down on the ground and in a firing position to just start picking them off. The guys in the air can see this.
Wow.
So there's that drama of he's right in front of you. He's going to start shooting at you. And the back and forth as they're communicating and all this, it's doesn't when you just imagine on paper, it's is that really going to make a big difference? It really makes a difference in terms of what's going on. It's cool. Car chases as well, where you're in the car with the cops, but then you're also in the air and they can see what's coming up down the road.
Back and forth.
Back and forth. It's a really compelling show.
Yeah, that's another one we're working on now, which will be out later this year. It's a 3-part series for Peacock on the Long Island serial killer.
Oh, I know that story well.
Yeah, and a lot has been done on it. We have some really unique access, which I think people will be intrigued by.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and then we have a documentary for Netflix around Diddy that's going to come out at the end of the year.
Oh, well, call Kate back.
Got some trouble over the last year or so.
You better circle back to headquarters about that one. I'm excited about that one. Well, as always, thank you guys so much.
Thanks for having us, Kate.
Yeah, thanks for having us on the show.
You bet.
The amazing Kate Casey.
I want to thank my fantastic guests, David and Brad, and remind you, again, to click subscribe to the podcast, leave a 5-star review. Make sure you jump into the Facebook group, Reality Life with KKC. You want to get my what to watch list of what to watch every week in unscripted TV by going to katecasey.substack.com. And I've got bonus episodes, extra episodes by going to Patreon, patreon.com/KKC. And make sure you follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram at @KKCCA, TikTok, it's KKC, and Twitter and Threads at @KKC. Make sure you check back tomorrow for an all-new episode.
Hey, true crime fans. Ever dreamt of solving cases and poring over evidence with top podcasters, criminal experts, and your fellow true crime enthusiasts? Join us for Wondery's Exhibit C inaugural True Crime Cruise aboard the luxurious cruise ship the Norwegian Joy for an unforgettable voyage from Miami to Nassau, Bahamas. Take to the high seas for this enthralling around-the-clock true crime experience. Immerse yourself with some of the best minds in criminal psychology and your favorite true crime podcast hosts and experts, all while enjoying top-tier amenities and breathtaking ocean views. The Exhibit C cruise is the ultimate true crime experience, where you and fellow enthusiasts can share theories and participate in activities like an immersive murder mystery, a Beat the Polygraph challenge, or self-defense classes that would deter any would-be criminal. Come for the intrigue. Stay for the sunshine. Go to exhibitccruise.com to learn more and sign up for the pre-sale.